Etienne de Rocquigny is a mathematician, thinker, public speaker, senior advisor to many entrepreneurs, and a powerful essayist. Since 2018, he has chaired Hope and Algorithms, a think tank of entrepreneurs, scientists, philosophers, and theologians to align on anthropological and spiritual level AI at the service of the common good. He's an author of numerous books and reference training courses in major business and engineering schools, as well as a member of the Faculty of Philosophy and Theology. And in those roles, he trains and supports leaders through his firm, Blaise Pascal Advisors, and through an initiative called Rerum Novarum. Etienne will be sharing with us some compelling AI use cases. Please join me in welcoming Etienne de Rocquigny.
Salve a tutti, sarà un gran onore parlare qui. So now I will switch to English as prescribed. So I will try to make that case, which may sound a bit like imposture, within that AI bubble to speak about sustainable AI. So I will try to defend that case. So I would say that first of all, as a Christian, I think, Imago Dei, what does that mean to be ruining the beauty of creation and destroying our garden? And I think if we have to be up to our calling of Imago Dei, it should be a desirable purpose that the algorithm would serve us being better gardeners. So I think first, it's quite a desirable purpose. I show you here that as part of the manifesto of Hope and Algorithm, which is called Garden, that very principle. Now, if we turn into a technical issue, it's a kind of two-sided thing. No, there's the AI, there's the environmental footprint of AI. As some may know that now the electricity consumed by servers in Ireland are higher than the entire housing sector. So there's going to be a problem, not only with carbon, but also under pressure electrical grid. So it's quite an issue there. However, I would tend to say that the more important issue is more AI for green. So it's more using those AI in order to serve sustainable development. And I tend to share with my data scientists what I call the algo-energetic ROEI, meaning how many kilowatt hours you use to train your AI in life cycle to save how much. And when you try to think about that, you think differently about the amount of energy you need to build AI. And the third point I would like to make before getting to examples is that for me, as a former scientist, there's better science to do with AI than just greedy tech with trillions of parameters and the brute force aspects of just getting, big GPUs to compute. I think the nobility of the scientific calling is to set up the minimal model that explains the world. Einstein explained, the expansion of the universe with less than 10 equations and less than 100 parameters. So how come we need a trillion parameters to do things? So I think here there's a great calling for getting into parsimonious model, which will be a very better science to think of. And at the end of the day, and we're in a Free Society conference, and I've never been at ease with the regulatory approach on sustainable development. And we can see that the backlash from ESG is quite saying something. And I think we need some true business models. And there is, I will show you with example, there are business models to justify a strong alignment between economics and environmental performance. Things like dematerialization, servicification of products, and circular economy tend to give longer use of products and less resources used for a better quality. So this, at the end of the day, carries interesting business models. So the first example I would like to give, and that's a story. I've been working with the CEO of that French-based company, 1,000 people. Now, the initial job is a drilling for test company. When you build the Cathedral of St. Peter, you want to be sure that it will hold, so you will do some kind of drillings. Maybe you will find the bones of St. Peter. But essentially the job of that company was to bring quite polluting machines to drill and then to make some measurements and give it to the architect and say, you can build it, you need 10 meters of a foundation. Now, what we did is that essentially almost half time you build a new building, you're doing in somewhere where you have already drilled boreholes in the last past. And the data, the subsoil data is nice because it's not aging. So what we've been doing is we'll be collecting all those data and building some soil modeling with machine learning. And the difficult part of this is cleaning data. It's not the algorithmic part, it's cleaning data. And at the end of the day, what we do is we've moved this company from a drilling one-off company into an online predictive service for soil building reinsurance. Now, what is very interesting there is that you're moving a business model, which is a one-off low-margin thing, into a recurrent cash flow with a service which is cheaper to the customer because you do less drilling. And the service is much quicker because sometimes you don't do drilling at all. And of course, you have strong margins. And there is rising margins because all time you get new data, you get better. And there's also a quite interesting promise in terms of job transformation because it comes you back to better understanding and modeling of the world because you're not just drilling, you're understanding how the soil has evolved and you're building a knowledge world of the world. And that's, of course, for me, it's an upskilling perspective, although it's a big change management. It changed completely the job from field people into contemplating the beauty of the creation. And so, yeah, and an important remark here is that the bulk of the value comes from non-generative AI, machine learning with quite a low number of parameters, meaning that it's AI which is much less energy consuming and highly explainable because they have a low number of parameters. And that is a very desirable thing because when your job is actually to ensure risk, you cannot allow not understanding what's going on under black box. So you have to have explainable AI. Now we also use Gen AI, but just 20% of the job is just, preparing the reports. But the real expertise come with low parameter AI. Now, the second example is in building thermal energy. Now, thermal energy is about 40% of the CO2 problem. Inadequate heating, air conditioning is just an outrageous waste of precious resource. And the key there is taming renewable volatility. Why? Because if you want to decarbonize massively thermal, you need renewables, but the renewables, like solar panels, are not predictable or have high volatility, meaning that it cannot be cost efficient unless you have some algorithm to actually predict and optimize under uncertainty, this kind of thing. So with AI, you can actually make the maximal value of this, recover the calories from air conditioning in the summer, and put them on the battery, on a thermal battery with the soil, with geothermal heat pumps. And you can divide by 10 or maybe 20 sometimes the CO2 emission. So there's a vast interest in doing that. And also it's changing the old engineering work of one-off design of things to architects into, once again, a recurrent model, because we are actually selling to clients a 20-year continuous operation of the thermal efficiency of the building. And by the way, we have financial penalties if we don't follow the CO2 mission, meaning, and that's because we have AI that we can commit ourselves in the long term to operate things in a nice way. So once again, here we have an example of economic, environmental, business alignment. And once again, 80% of the value comes from the low parameter AI, which is quite complex in terms of mathematics because it's stochastic optimization and advanced weather forecast. But again, it's much more explainable AI. And we use Gen AI, of course, for things like, secondary means. but to a much lower intent, and so the carbon content is lower. So the last example now, I move to a more prospective thing, a work done with a CEO of a quantum manufacturer for years. We've been working together. Now that person who said that quantum manufacturing company in France, I asked him, why are you selling this company? If you were to die tonight, what you will be proud in front of the Lord to have been done. And we gradually came to the fact that quantum computing has the incredible advantage of potentially dividing by 500,000 or even sometimes a factor of 1 million, the amount of electricity needing to compute. In certain cases, quantum processing unit has an unparalleled promise of efficiency. So why not use that? And if we want to be consistent, why not use that to serve sustainable development use case? So we launched a world challenge there, saying to people, you're free to use our quantum computer. You have to show that you have a sustainable development use case, and you have to show that you're reaching a much better scalable efficiency in computer terms with respect to traditional GPU and CPU. And we had an incredible creativity from all over the world, 40 countries. I'll just give you 2 examples. Typhoon forecasts coming from Taiwan with a better and better computed typhoon forecast model. And the other thing was with wildfire forecast and rescue optimization in North Macedonia. And all those 2 cases, although at small scale, they proved a very attracting promise with quantum AI, or I should say sustainable quantum AI. Now to finish my talk, I want to talk to, we're at Gregorian University, to a calling of holiness with a blink of the eye on the history. Now, some of you may know that this guy, I'm very fond of him, and also Pope Francis was very fond of him. Blaise Pascal, who is an incredible polymath in the 17th century in France, he's actually invented probability calculation. He fabricated the first ever computer. It was a mechanical calculator, Pascaline. And he also invented the recurring algorithm. What is ChatGPT if it's not a recurring probabilistic machine? So Blaise Pascal is a prophet of AI. But much more interesting and lesser known is that Blaise Pascal was a Syrian entrepreneur, and the last 6 months of his life, seeing an incredible famine in the winter of 1661, and seeing that the king would do nothing, the bishop would do nothing to nurture the people, he said, what do I have? I'm an engineer. I'm going to set a company, earn as money as quickly as possible, and I will give that money to the poor. And in doing that, he invented the first ever public transport. It was a co-coaching service, you know, and he did some data analysis in Paris to see where the people would go, optimize the frequency of the coaching. And so he set up an incredible company that was a true scale-up. In a few months, he dominated the market, and he actually donated the profit and the share of that company to the poor, to the Catholic charity at that time. And the most interesting thing in that story, and that was well noted by Pope Francis. Now, in his letter for the 300th anniversary of Pope Francis, he was somehow, although he didn't explicitly say that, thinking about the beatification process of Blaise Pascal. And the first argument regarding the potential holiness of Blaise Pascal was not his work on mathematics, was not even his work on apologetics with Pascal Schultz. It was the fact that he invented the first impact company, earning a lot of money to distribute it to the poor. So I think that could be an example inspiring for us to become saints in the algorithmic age, because at the end of the day, we need saints for the world.